Hi everybody, welcome to my channel. My name is Dennis. Today's video is a case unboxing. We're going to review it. We're going to have a look at it. It was graciously sent to me by a company called Be Quiet. They make power supplies, CPU coolers, and cases, and maybe more. I'm not really sure. But we're going to have a look at it and see if it's worth the hype. Okay, so this is an improvement over their previous model. As you can see, it has silent wings, so it's meant to be very quiet. It has great airflow, noise insulation, and of course it has some RGB lights. And we'll go through and we'll look at all that. Now this is the Dark Base Pro 900. Has outstanding flexibility and silence, as you can see on the box. And it is the accented orange revision 2. So the first thing we see is it's got a ton of styrofoam to protect it, which is great because it does have a tempered glass side panel, and we want to make sure that doesn't get broken. So we're going to get that off and have a closer look. And of course, it's got this nice little bag. Okay, so the big reveal. There is our first look. Accented orange side panels. They've nicely put this over here just to make sure this doesn't move. Great airflow on the side. Okay, you can see your tempered glass on the side. There's actually a slight bit of plastic that you normally would peel off. Covering this to protect it. You got your orange accents on the top, goes all the way around, and it's on both sides. You've got airflow all the way down on the bottom, side, and the top. Of course, we've got stuff to look at on the inside. Your tempered glass fastens two in the top, two in the bottom. Okay, so all in four corners. You move around to the front, and you have a magnetic front panel. So if you push here and then push here, that releases it. And we have a look at the inside. And you've got nice insulated panel here, and this is going to make it nice and quiet. The other thing you've got on the front, which is really easy to get to, you just push down, and this just pulls out, and it's your filter. Okay, easily washable, cleanable, and certainly easy to take off. You want to get at your fans, you can now get at your two 140 millimeter Be Quiet fans. Other added feature, which you don't find in a lot of cases today, is you have room for two 5 1/4 inch bays, which usually for optical drives, which I like to have an optical drive in my system. So this makes it good. Taking it out is just a matter of pushing on here, and it will release. Okay, so I'm just going to leave that there for now. And on the top here, we have USB 3.0 for two of them. You've got your mic, your headphone, your power switch, your LED switch, your hard drive LED, and USB-C and USB 3.1. You have a switch here. If you leave it all the way over to the left where it's at now, you can control your fan speeds by way of the motherboard. If you switch it all the way over to the right, then you can control it manually. All right, so we'll leave it on the left for now. Okay, so moving over to the what would be the back side of your case. So on the side of the case here, you've got your Be Quiet. Now inside here, you can take this off, and you'll have room for a couple more fans on the inside. Or you can keep it on and have the quietness. Okay, so moving around to the back of the case. As you can see, it has a ton of room. Okay, so of course we'll take this off, have a look at it afterward. You have a 140 millimeter Be Quiet fan in the back for your rear exhaust. Of course, your I/O shield's going to go in here. You have room for 8 PCIe slots, and you have room here for more cooling. And of course, down here is where your power supply is going to go. Okay, so looking at the top of the case, you have ventilation holes here. You got a few more on the top here, and you have this huge area up here. It just sits flat. We'll have a look in a minute and see if that comes off or not. This is a fully modular case, so I suspect it does come off. So to get your side panel off, you got two adaptive thumb screws here. So you're just going to unscrew them here. Okay, they just sit there. They don't have to come out. You can take them out, but that's the intent. It's just a hair, and you're just going to pull it. And inside, so this is where your fans can go. You can punch this out, and you've got your more insulation on the sides here. So just to demonstrate, you have 4 little tabs. You got 2 here, 2 over here. All you have to do to take this off is just push this. You can see how it releases. Do the same thing on this side. It's going to release. And same thing with this one. And of course, once you release your 4 tabs, you just push together the little tab that's here. Okay, and it'll kind of pop out on its own. And it's just going to come off. Alright, so there. It's off. And now you can see on the panel here, you can have it for more airflow. Or, like I say, you can put 2 more fans on there. 2 140 millimeter fans. So having a look on the inside, you've got 1, 2, 3, and 3 more here. And the purpose of these screws is you release these, this whole inner bracket can be reversed. So if you want to have this as an inverted motherboard and have it go on the other side, that's where you start. You take this off, reverse it, flip it. There's a whole series of doing that to put it on the other side. And of course, that's if your preference is to do it that way. I'm not going to do that because that's not my preference. You have all your cables here for everything that's on the top. We'll talk about that a little bit more. First time I've had a case that actually had a USB-C on it. So pretty cool. Nicely tied up. Lots of room for cable management. It's a little bit tighter than I thought it'd be. But the way you can route them and tuck everything away in your shroud, you're going to be able to move everything out of the way. So there really shouldn't be any issues here. You have an SSD tray here. So just one simple thumb screw. You just turn this will come off. Put your SSD on there and you're done. You've got lots of rubber grommets, and you've got multiple places for tie downs. All right, lots of them. Even like here, you have ample space on the top here for putting in your cables for your CPU, routing your power supply, everything like that. So taking your tempered glass off, just be careful. You don't want to break this. Now, it does set in there kind of on its own. It's not wrong, just like I don't have to hold on to it, because it sets on top of where you put your screws into. So just let it come out a little bit, and then just grab it by the sides and take it off. Be very careful when you take these off. Set it somewhere where it's not going to get broken, because that's the last thing you want. It's going to be very difficult to replace that afterward. So as you can see on the inside of the case, you've got your little box here with all your goodies, your screws, all that kind of good stuff. You've got LED strips here, so that's where your RGB is going to come from. Okay, now we got our 2 boxes down. We're going to have a quick look at the LED strips, and we'll have a look at our accessories. So another thing, of course, like I said, you've got your rubber grommets. These are room for your hard drives is in here, and we'll have a look at that. And of course, you've got, like I said, you got your 140 Be Quiet fan in the back for rear exhaust. Okay, you have your fan controller is 8 PWM steepless control, and with the PWM hub in the back that I showed you. Like I said, in the back has 8 PCI slots, 2 5 1/4 inch bays for your optical drives or whatever else you want to put on the top, 7 3.5 inch drives, or 14 2.5 inch drives. Case fans, you have 2 silent wings, 140, running at 1600 RPM. Your rear fan is a 140 running at 1600 as well. Now you can have optional case fans. So in the front you can have a 140 without the optical disk drive cage. In the top you can have anywhere from a 3 140s, 4 120s, or 180. On the bottom you can have 2 140s or 120, and of course your PS Shroud is 1x120. As far as radiator support, on the top, you can go from a 120 to a 420. So it pretty much covers most radiators that I know of. Your rear is a 120 or a 140, and in the front, you can go from a 120 to a 420 radiator in the front as well. Okay, so one unique feature I want to show you, and we'll get to that in just a second here. But first, we're going to have a quick look at the accessories. Okay, so in your box of accessories, some of the things you get with it are your LCS bracket. Okay, so this is used for attaching a liquid cooling pump. All right, you have an attachment to put your SSD if you want to mount it on top of your power supply shroud. You have 3 extra hard drive cages, Of course, you have some cable ties. This is a double for putting in there, so it'll take up a couple spots and give it a bit of a cleaner look. So it's called a double hard drive disk slot cover. So it covers 2 HDD slots. Okay, of course you have all your different screws, extra standoffs for anything that you might need for a bigger motherboard, and of course you have 2 LED strips. Now they have a certain spot on the back of the PWM hub on the back. Now when you get the case, it'll be labeled E. But just to show you where those will go, I just want to take a minute and show that to you. I also want to show you this here. So this is just for mounting an extra fan to the front of the case. Okay, you just supply everything. There's nothing you're going to be wanting with this case. So I'm going to show you where those LED strips go on the back, just so you can see them. So on the back you've got LED strip, LED 1 and 2. Okay, so this is 1, this one is 2. So you just plug it in. They'll only go in one way. You got like a little notch here. Make sure you push it up in here. You got lots of cable room. Okay, you've got about 2 feet of cable. So you can put that anywhere you want in the case, just situate it. And you're going to be able to put 2 of those in. Now on the end of this LED strip, which is kind of cool, you've got another place to plug in more RGB. So the possibilities are limitless. So removing your front cover, I took the filter out because I'd read somewhere that you have to take that out first. There are tabs on the inside. You have to basically push them in and loosen it, and this just pulls right off. Okay, so just be careful, make sure you do it right. And so another thing that I did not do, and I can show you what's going to happen here. On the bottom, if you pull this right out, and I'm going to do it, we're going to do it, we're going to make it happen. So that's what's going to happen. If you don't take this off, it's going to come off with it. Alright, just something to keep in mind. Now that is underneath, so that will be on the bottom. So just keep in mind, you want to take that off. Okay, taking it off, there's a little tab here. Okay, and you're just going to pull it out. So don't forget that. Make sure you pull this out first. If you don't, that's fine. It's just going to come out with it. Not going to damage anything. And then you have your cover. Okay? And then the reason for this on the inside, something I want to show you, is this is totally reversible. You have screws here and screws in the bottom. So if you want to take this, if you want to invert your case, you can take those off and then you can switch it around. Alright? And then instead of opening from the left, it'll open from the right. Just something to keep in mind. So, getting that off, we can now see our front fans. Of course, we could see those anyway before we took it off. But what's nice, and one of the things I always look for in a case, is that these connectors that are all part of everything that controls your case, I do not like it when they are part of the case. So that is a big plus for this case, just the fact that they're not there. So now you can get in here, you can do all your work, everything perfect. I can't think of anything better. Okay, so this is where I was mentioning that extra fan bracket. So once if you decide you're not going to use an optical drive in this, then you can move these ones down, and that extra fan bracket going on here, fan bracket, I'll learn to speak, then you can fit the extra fan in the front if you want. But it also gives you options for your water cooling, all that kind of good stuff. And yeah, so I'm going to have a look, see if the top comes off, and we're going to get that off. Okay, so I've loosened this off, but I wanted to show you how I did it. There's 1, 2, 3, and 4 tabs. Okay, so you push those tabs in, and this is going to lift off. Then you're going to have to turn it to the other side, reach underneath in here, and you have the same tabs on this side. Once you've done that, then your top just lifts off. Okay, and there you go. So now we're going to have a look on the top of this case and see what we got on this bad boy. So having a better look at the top, you can see how your radiator is going to go in here. Now these cables seem like they're in the way at the moment, but you're going to take those cables, you're going to be able to move them. Now right now they're here, but you can move them out of the way. and it's not going to interfere with your radiator whatsoever. So you got 1, 2, 3 fans that are going to go on here that I can see for sure. Up to a 360. Like I said, it goes up to a 420. 360 easy, 420. You're going to have to make sure you move these cables just so that they're not in your way. Okay, so here we get a closer look at our USBs. Okay, your mic, your speaker, your power LED, your LED switch, your hard drive, LED, your USB 3.1, and like Type-C, and USB 3.1 over here. So one more thing I want to show you is on the bottom where you can mount your SSD, and you've got other places for fans. So I've kind of loosened them off a little bit just to make it easier, because you do have to pull up pretty hard from this side and they'll come up. And this one comes up the same thing. That's where your SSD is going to go, and this one comes up too. And you can even open up the ones on the end here, okay, to give you more room here for water cooling. And you've got room on this side as well. I'll leave that one there. And they go in just as easy. If you want to pop them back in, just line them up, pop them back down. Okay, no big deal. So once you got it open, now you can see where your SSD will fit in here. So that'll fit flush. Cables come from behind, and it gives you a lot better cable management. So you have to take those all out. So I took them out after all. So you have to take them all out if you're going to take out your power supply shroud. So you got 2 screws. So you're just going to take this one out here and do the same thing with this one. And once you've done the 2 screws in the front, there's 1 screw right here that you have to undo as well. You can see there's 2 little screws here, so these both have to come out as well. Those are the final 2 screws right down through here. You're going to have to take those off as well. Then you can remove your power supply shroud. So there's yet 2 more screws. One that's up here, and there's another one here. I'm going to check. Hopefully I just have to take this one, because that one's going to be kind of hard to get to, but if we have to, we'll take that off too. So I did only have to take off the 1 screw, and now everything is going to come out. Lift it from this end, just to give yourself more room. This is going to pop out, okay, and then it's out. Now you can see where your power supply is going to go in here. Now, this case is a little bit different than I've had in the past. Your power supply has a cable connector right here for your power. So you're going to have to put your power supply in here, and I'll show you how to do that. And I'm actually going to put the power supply in here, because why not? And then we'll go from there. And that will be pretty much the end of taking this apart. Now I could go further, because you can take this whole part here. You can take this out, unfasten it here, and take this out, and you can use it as an actual test bench. And you can also use it to invert and have everything on the opposite side. Now, one last thing I did notice is if you're going to put your LEDs, you got to look for the different spots. You do have room on the top. I think on this side probably is the best spot. Put it on here, and then run it down the end here. Although I don't know if it's going to fit there, but we'll find out. Once I've got it in place, I'll show it to you. We'll light her up and have a look at it in its final glory. But, like I said, power supply first. So, of course, if you're going to go to all this trouble to build inside a case like this, where the options are pretty much limitless, you're going to want a good power supply. So, I got this power supply sent to me as well. And it's a 600 watt pure power 11, and of course exceptional quiet, superior reliability, and we'll have a quick look at that before we go and put it in and show you what it looks like and everything. And of course this is a premium power supply. Okay, it's going to run quiet. You're not, if you got noise coming from your system, it's not because of your case, and it's certainly not because of your power supply. You have a 120 millimeter fan inside of this, of course provided by Be Quiet, with airflow optimized fan blades, extremely high performance stability for your CPU and GPU, has 2 independent 12 volt rails. It's 80 plus gold certification, so 80 plus gold gives you up to 93% efficiency. Okay, Has user-friendly cable management, which we'll see here in a minute. High quality sleeved and flat cables, which is going to make your lack of a little bit of room in the back of the case. It's going to make that so it's not even an issue. Okay, you have a 12 volt P4 plus 4 connector, and it will support the latest graphics cards with 4 times PCI Express, 6 plus 2 pin, and compatible with ATX 12 volt V2.4 and an EPS of 12 volt V2.92. Okay, and of course it's designed with quality control in Germany. So let's get this bad boy out of the box and have a better look. Okay, so when you first go in the box, you've got your Pure Power 11 Be Quiet user manual, which applies all the way from the 400 watt up to the 700 watt. Tells you everything about it, all your different connectors, all that kind of good stuff. And these are the flat cables they're talking about. Okay, so they're going to be flat against the case, and they're very thin, so they'll push right up flat, take up very little room, and you got all your different connectors here. Okay, so we won't go into that too much, but anyway, so all your different types of cables. Now, of course, you've got your power cord, and let's get it out. Oh, and it even comes with some screws and some more twist ties. So it's not fully modular. There are some cables attached to it, and it's basically just the one for your power supply and your 8-pin CPU power. Of course, you've got your orange to go along with your theme. You got your Be Quiet fan, and of course, in the back, you've got your Be Quiet power on and off, and where you're going to plug in your power cord. And that's pretty much all there is to it. Okay, so putting in your power supply, because you've already loosened all the other screws to get your power supply shroud off, you've got 2 more screws here. So you will have to undo these. One here and one here. And then you take out the bracket, put it on here, and then put it all back together. Okay, so like I said, once you've got the 2 screws out, this comes out. So once you put your bracket on, same as if it was the back of the case, line up your screw holes, fasten in your screws in the 4 corners, and then you're going to put it back on. Put this back on with your 2 screws. Go ahead and do your build. And then, of course, put your shroud back on. Okay, once you got your bracket on, you're going to take your cable from the case. Plug it in the same as you would your power connector. Alright, make sure that it's turned off. And then you can just put it back in place. Line up those screws. And put it back in. Feed your cables through in the back. And that's what we're going to do next. Okay, so something else I just wanted to mention is your power supply has your on-off. But on the back of the case, you have your on-off as well. And that's because the cable in the case plugs in here, and then your power cord is going to connect on the back. So make sure your power supply actually is turned on, or at least don't forget to turn it on. Because if you don't turn it on, you're going to be powering this, turning it on, and you're not going to have power to your case, and you're not going to remember why. So for me, because I got a bad memory, I turned it on. I'm not going to plug it in, so thereby there's no voltage, nothing going through, so that when I turn my switch on in the back, I'm good. But it's a double safety feature, so if you wanted to turn it off here, keep your kids from messing with it, you can turn it off on the inside, and they're not going to know why it's not turning on. So kind of a secure way to keep your other people from using your system, because they're probably not going to know about that. Okay, so a couple of more things I wanted to talk about are your hard drive cages are going to go in here. Now you've already got your hard drive cage down here, which is just unscrew with these 3 spots. Okay, so to take these out, you have to apply a bit of pressure. Just push them all down. Now you have to do it all at the same time. Okay, you have to push all 3 down, and then just push it out and you're good. Now, that's if you want to install extra hard drive bays. So extra hard drives, you can put quite a few, you can see here. And of course your hard drive cage is down here. So you've got a thumb screw here, 2 more here. Take the whole thing out, put your hard drives in, put them back in. Alright. For your case fans, you have a SATA power cable. Plug that into the power from your power supply. That's going to power your fans in the front. It's going to power your LEDs if you have them plugged in, and your fan in the back. So one more thing I want to touch on as well is on the top of this case, and I haven't touched on it yet. So let's have a look. So on the top of the case, this has a QI charger. So basically, it's for charging your phone. Set it on top, your phone's going to charge. That is a feature you will see on very few cases. Hopefully, something they'll bring in to more cases, as that would be a fantastic feature to have. It's going to be a fantastic feature. So it'll charge your phone. Of course, it's going to be powered from your cables on the side of the case, and plugging in your power supply, of course. So we're going to get the cover back on, but before we do that, we're going to talk a little bit more about the cables in the bottom. Okay, so having a look at our cables, of course, like I said, this is just one I had plugged in from the power supply, just to show you. I'm going to use that later on for the LEDs. So what cables come with your this case? So you have your normal cables. You have a USB 3.0. Okay, we have our USB Type C. Okay, that's going to plug in. This is the first time I've ever had that on the case, by the way. You have other cables for power. You have your RGB connectors. And of course you have your normal connectors for, which is your HDD, LED, okay, PLED, positive and negative, your power switch, and of course we have our HD audio. All that will go on the motherboard, and we'll show you all that when we actually do a build. Okay, so one more feature is, of course, your hub. Now you have performance mode, silent mode, so they're automatically set at performance, and this one is set at silent. So however you want to set up your fans, they're here. You can change them how you wish, and you're good to go. So you do actually have a second SATA power cable. So this one here goes up, and that's what's giving your power to charging your phone. So just to make sure I mention that, because I think I left that out. Okay, so all our fans are, everything is all working, all lit up. Our LED I put up here, ran it across the back, and put the other LED here. Now, of course, the color is what you're seeing right now. Won't change until after you've got your motherboard in there and you fire it up, and then you control everything with your motherboard software. So I'm going to do a build in this a little bit later on. Stay tuned for that, and hope you like what you just watched. Alright everybody, so I hope you liked that video. If you like it, hit that like. If you don't, you know what to do. Think about hitting that subscribe, hit that bell for future notifications. So overall, this case, a little bit of work to it. Actually, I found a bit of a challenge, which I kind of liked actually. Now, it might not be for the first time builder, but if you're a little bit experienced and you're looking for a great case, that you can mess around with a little bit, I think you'll like the case. Now, getting out that power supply shroud, there's a lot of screws in that. The power supply shroud is definitely something I think they can improve on. The way they mount the power supply itself, I'm not sure why they do it that way. Not a fan, but overall it works, and that's all that matters. And it looks great in the end. So thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope the explanation of the cables and stuff was good. Hope you like that part. If you have any questions, let me know. Stay tuned for the next one. Thanks.